So the other question I want to ask, as we start today, you will say, FolaFayo has come again with our questions. Yes, I'll come again with my question. So the other question I would like to ask today is, how did the year start off for you? Was it like really fast? Because for some people, there are some things that they did not conclude in December. So they basically carried it over. So it was seamless. It was like they just got into the first day of 2022 and it was like everything going fast. So how was it for you? Was it very fast? Was it like, will you say, well, for me, I would say it was basically the regular motion, nothing, just back to routine? Or would you say it was slow? FolaFayo was slow. So how would you describe the start of the year for you? Jumoke, I see you say that it will be an excellent year. Yes, amen to that, amen to that. Okay, so what was the way you would, or rather, let me put it this way. Would you say the year started as fast, regular, or really slow for you? When you started the year, how would you say the start was for you? So for me, like I said, when I got on board today, I was saying that I'm trying to, remember my settings, where I need to put my phone, how I need to, put the different tabs that are open up on my windows and all of that. It started kind of slow for me. So I don't know if Tosin, you're saying yours was regular. For me, it was slow. So if you are in my space, okay. Juwon is saying festivities felt like a 5 minutes time out and back to work. Ah, really? Wow. So it was like seamless for you, Juwon. All right. For me, it was slow. It was really slow. It was so slow for me that I was quite concerned. And a number of times I did tell my husband, I think there's something going on here. I'm not comfortable. I don't know why it's slow for me. So I had expectations, coming into the year, because I took time to pray in December. I had gotten the promise and things like that. And, a lot of other ministries and churches had started putting out word and things like that. And I know the festivities, having family around, for those who traveled, you would have had that fun in the air and in the atmosphere. But for me, when we got into January 1st, I was like, it didn't feel like January 1st for me. It just didn't feel so new to me. I was like, I wanted it to feel new. I wanted to feel there was a new burst of energy, a new burst of vision. And I wasn't in that space. So it was like, it didn't look new for me. So if you were in that space like I was, please let me know. So I'm not alone. So Tokwa Gufaya is saying it didn't look like there was any transition to a new year. Okay. Same for me. It was kind of slow. I was like, what? We had the fireworks on my side. Where I was into the new year, we had the fireworks, we prayed together as a family. We actually even toasted with wine and things like that, but it wasn't really feeling new. So I was really quite concerned. And then like I said, kept talking to my husband about it. And then I started praying about it. And I was like, there has to be something is going on here. I couldn't get it. And then I realized that this is something that not just happens in the beginning of a new year or a new month. For some of us, when we come into new seasons of our lives, we have that feeling of things are not kicking off as excitedly as I thought it would be. I'm not excited about the new. I can't feel the new. It's like as old. It feels like as old. And sometimes you actually feel like there's a dip in the way you feel. Maybe even I wouldn't want to use something negative like depressive or depression or something really sad, but you just don't feel an excitement. It's like you're on a calm. I kept telling my husband, there's a calm I'm feeling. I can't express this thing. There's a calm I'm feeling. I'm concerned. And if you're someone who knows me, you can hear me right now. I talk pretty fast, right? And so having something where it was a little bit slow, I was like, no, it's not supposed to be like this, right? And so I started praying about it and I started taking some steps and I started, looking into some ideas. And I can tell you that I got my groove back. I got my groove back. And if you read the post that I posted today, I said I've been there and I'm much better now. So I'm here to share with you ideas that you want to have in your mind. Whenever you come to a new season, a new year, a new month, a new face, a new space, it could even be that it's not a change of time, but a change of space for you. Maybe it's like you change organizations and you were thinking that, when you get into that new office, things are going to go spark for you, and then it's not feeling that way. So if you have a transition period and you're not feeling the excitement you're supposed to feel or you would like to feel, or you are not in your groove like you really used to be, these are the things that I would expect that you can start considering to do. And the first one is this. Now, this one sounds a little bit opposite to what we're trying to achieve, but I can tell you, you need it. The first one is enjoy the calm. Enjoy the calm. And I really mean this one because most of us, if you look at how the last years have been, especially with the pandemic, for some of us who had to do a lot of readjustments in our spaces. I can tell you that you might have been in moments where things were going fast, so fast for you that you needed a break. So now you took a break in December, most likely, or, I mean, a lot of businesses shut down for the year. And so things were a little bit slow. There were a lot of festivities and all of that, like Juwon said earlier. And then now things are a little bit calm. You need to enjoy that calm, ride on that calm, because you know what? When the tide changes, you are going to be eager for that calm. And the thing is, when you are in that state of being calm, now there's a tendency for you, if you're not familiar with it, to be uncomfortable with it. So whenever we're in an unfamiliar terrain, we get to be uncomfortable, right? But the truth is, it is in that time that you want to make your strength renewed. You want to renew your strength, and you want to resharpen your vision. So anytime you're feeling like, oh, I don't really have that state of excitement, the energy, I'm not in my groove, things are not moving fast like I want, you want to also be deliberate to enjoy the calm. I mean, if you've watched the session we had sometime last year on the law of the Sabbath, you will realize that this is something that many of us actually need to take that break in between what we're doing. So like I said, the very first thing you need to be aware of is, am I even enjoying the calm? Now, if you've enjoyed the calm and you're tired of the enjoyment, that's another thing. But if you've not even enjoyed it, and it's not something you have a lot of times, it's not something you key into a lot of times, my encouragement is you need to take time to enjoy the calm. You know, bask in that calmness, bask in that difference, because it's an opportunity for you to have your strength renewed, your vision resharpened. So while you may be uncomfortable, you need to start asking yourself, what can I do despite the fact that my groove isn't back? So the first thing, again, enjoy the calm. Let's start with this. How do offenses, how do they occur? And why do we feel offended? You know, the circumstances that make us feel offended. What are those times? And so I looked into it, and I came up with 3 major reasons why offenses usually show up and why we usually feel offended when we are having interactions with people, or when we're in a group, you know, or when we are dealing with any other person. And like I said, maybe we want to prioritize the relationships that matter to us. So maybe relationship with our parents, relationship with our siblings, relationship with colleagues that we work closely with our spouses, with our children, you know, that relation, and even friends. So that close network, let's start with that. And then of course, you know, there's some other relationships that I probably didn't mention, but they also matter. So you may need to also consider that while we talk about this tonight, okay? So that there are 3 things that I've looked into. There will be more, but there are 3 major ones that you want to think through whenever an offense comes to you. And the first one is personality difference. Personality difference. And I think the reason why this for me is a clear one is because I'm also certified as a DISC consultant. And, you know, in the DISC space, we identify that there are different types of people. And that means that the way we go about things, the way we see things, the way we do things, they differ. So one very popular one. So if you have another one that you know usually occurs in your space, please just type it in for me. A very popular thing that shows up as a result of personality difference is the toothpaste usage. Has anyone ever heard about that before? That some people would rather press the toothpaste from the middle and some people would press the toothpaste from the end, all right? So if you know any other major, you know, cause of conflicts in a relationship, please just mention it there. But with respect to personality, that's part of it. Because some people will say, for those who are very meticulous about how they use their toothpaste, if you're sharing toothpaste with someone that is very, very carefree and lively, the person doesn't really, the focus of the person is that let the toothpaste get out of the tube. The person is not bothered about how the tube will look afterwards. It's more like, as long as when we're done with the tube, we're going to throw it away. It's not something that we want to keep in an archive or something like that. So even toothpaste usage, you know, we see that happening in a lot of relations. In fact, for those who are getting married, they usually tell you, just expect something like that, except maybe the 2 of you are both meticulous, then you know that that kind of thing will not happen. But that's something that shows up. And then there's another one that shows up when it comes to personality difference a lot, is that you will find some people who will say that when a situation comes up, there are people who would speak their mind. And there are some other people who are more conservative, who keep quiet. So when you're in a group, for example, like a WhatsApp group, there's some people that for everything that happens in a WhatsApp group, they must leave a comment, even if it's an emoji. Now, those are people that are naturally expressive. And you will also be surprised that apart from the fact that such people exist, there are also people that are irritated when people do things like that, So the idea is that you recognize that individual could be like that, even if the person is different from you. Okay, so the way we express ourselves in a situation is different. Also, another one that shows up a lot with personality difference is how we manage stress. Some people, when they are stressed, they would rather sleep. So if you have a couple where the guy is that kind of person, when he's under stress, he sleeps, and the woman is a talker under stress, you can be sure that offenses will be showing up in that situation, because the woman will be thinking, oh, you know what? This doesn't really matter to you. Why is it that whenever we are going through a conversation like this, the next thing you want to do is to sleep off? Because she's not realizing the fact that that's the way that person distresses. All right. So personality differences usually are a reason why conflicts or offenses could show up in a relationship. Now, the second thing is this one, gratitude. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, FolaFayo, you've come with this whole gratitude thing. Everybody's always talking about gratitude. But I tell you that I was reminded about gratitude even recently, because I was thinking about some things I wanted to achieve. And I was like, oh, if only I could achieve those things, I'll probably be happier. And then it was like the Holy Spirit just twisted my perspective for me in a good way, not twisted it badly, definitely gave me a different perspective, and to make me realize that, why don't you begin to see that end goal achieved for you and start to come into a place of joy? Because when you're in a place of joy and gratitude for the things that you're working towards, you become a magnet. You become attractive to those things. Those things start to come into your space. So I don't know what it is that any of us might be looking out for, that we came into the year that we were like, okay, I'm going to start this thing. I'm going to achieve this thing. But you're coming to a place where you are almost getting restless, and you're telling yourself, if only, then I'll be happier. You need to start getting happy now. Because when you get happy now, when you get full of joy now, when you get grateful now, you are positioning yourself to be magnetic to that thing. Because when we're in a place of desperation, you're saying, oh, I want a job, oh, I want a promotion, oh, I want to meet that girl that I'm going to marry. If you're in a place of desperation, usually we kind of repel those things. That's one of the things that I've learned. But if you come to a place where you're telling yourself, that opportunity that I would desire, let me start acting like someone who is in that place. You want to ask yourself questions like, how does that person who has achieved that goal or who has attracted an opportunity, how do they behave? How do they dress? How do they talk? How do they act around people? And we want to start making sure that you intentionally position yourself into that space so that you can attract that thing. So, it's the end of the month. It's the end of the quarter. I know that we could be pressured with our goals, like I said earlier, when we review them at this time. But I want you to remember this. You have what it takes to achieve that goal. If not, you probably would not have thought about achieving it. But as you walk towards it, start asking yourself, what change must I embrace? What change must I become, open to, so that I can enter into it? And as I anticipate that, while I wait, I need to stay in the place of gratitude and thanksgiving. So yes, I just wanted to drop this quick one with us today because I won't be coming on at 9 p.m. WAT like I usually do. But next week, I'm going to be coming up live next week, and I'm going to be sharing something that I actually got to share recently at a conference, just a bit of it. But then, when you contemplate more on something, it becomes even richer in your mind. So I'm coming with a richer, perspective. And I believe very much that it will be something that will be valuable for every one of us.
Where did work start from? I don't want to go into a lot of theology tonight, but I have often heard, I grew up in church, and I started hearing about work, and the things I heard about work looked something like this. Because man fell, because sin entered into the world, work came as a punishment because of sin that entered into the world. Have you heard something like that? Listen, I'm here to bust your bubble. That's not correct. And I think that's the first foundational truth that we need to get right. When you have that in mind, that work is an outcome of the fall of man, Work was not initially in the mind of God. So work is like a punishment, so to speak. Then you will not handle work with the right mentality. Let me bust your bubble. Work was not as a result of sin. Actually, the first thing that God did after creating this beautiful earth and putting man on it was to give him a job. Listen, let me say that again. The first thing that the Almighty God did after creating this beautiful world and putting this awesome man in it was to say, look, you need to do something. You need to get busy, right? And because of that, God gave man work, gave him a garden to keep and to tend. Yes, I agree with you. Work became harder after the fall of man. So, but work was not as a result of the sin of the fall of man, right? Work became harder. So instead of gardening, he started to become a farmer. There are two different things. Again, I will not go into the theology of that. But even without sin, in a perfect world, there was work. Is that not interesting? Work was established before sin. Even in paradise, work was part of God's plan. Ouch. Ouch. That's for some people, that's aha. I mean, you mean even in paradise we would work? Yes, bro. Yes, sir. Even in paradise, in God's perfect mind, in God's perfect agenda, there was work. Work is not a strange thing. Work is not something that just came upon us. Work was in the original design. Right? So even if you are in Eden, even if you are in paradise, work is an important consideration. And that's why I want to quickly talk about it tonight and say, look, if I'm spending 40% of my time somewhere, if it has always been the intention of God, then what's this work about? Why do I have to work? What's the intent of the maker of work? What should I be aware of that I'm not aware of? And that's what I want to discuss. I want to discuss briefly tonight the purpose of work. Why work? Why should we work? Why was work created? Right? That's what I want to discuss tonight. And I want to talk about 6 points, but these points are in progressive order. So the lowest purpose, the basest purpose of work will come first. And in my opinion, the highest purpose of work will come last. So ready to go? All right, let's go. The number one reason why we work is what I have called necessity. Necessity to meet my needs. Necessity to meet my needs. Folks, people who are listening to me online and those who will watch the replay, you would agree with me that one of the basic reasons why we work is to meet our needs, right? That's the survival mode reason for work, right? If you look at the hierarchy of need, Maslow's hierarchy of need, you will understand that we need to meet needs, right? You have bills to pay, school fees to pay, you have food to buy, especially if you live in the part of the world with high inflation and things are increasing every day. You need a job, you need to work, right? That's the survival mode. That's the basest mode of work. A wise man said, I owe and I owe, so off to work I go. I owe and I owe, so off to work I go. You have needs to meet. There are basic necessities of life. You need to pay the bills, right? So a wise man puts it this way: the one who stays on the job has food on the table. I love that. The one who stays on the job has food on the table. Listen, folks, no work, no food. And God's word, the most important book in the world, actually stated that very clearly. And I know there are governments who are trying to change this. They want to give everyone food, and that's okay. That's good. People should not go to bed hungry. But listen, one of the basic things that work does for you is to provide, is to meet your needs, necessity, to meet my needs. It is your responsibility to work, folks. God has placed in every one of us the responsibility to work, especially when you are able to. Now, I know there are times when you are not able to, and that's okay. Maybe because of disability, maybe because of a phase of your life. That's okay. But a man who is able to, a woman who is able to, needs to work. And I'm not only talking about physical work, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I mean to engage your mind, engage your body, engage a part of you to meet your needs. So it is a responsibility. I love the way someone puts it. It says, no loaves for loafers. I agree with him. No loaves for loafers. So if you're a loafer, if you're just, lounging around, there should be no food for you. I didn't say that. God's word says that. God's holy book says that. And actually, history, okay, has shown us that when you see economists who are relying on government checks and all of that, they don't grow, right? You need to work. So no loaves for loafers. That's the first purpose of work. Necessity. I want to meet my needs. And to be very transparent, a lot of people are here. There's nothing bad about being there, but you should not remain there. There are other higher purposes why God gave us work.
So I had an issue a while back, some months back, with my hard drive. And if you're someone who is online based, like some of us who have a lot of content that we've created over time, you will find out that you need to back up. All right. So in the past, I used to do a lot of backing up on my hard drive, my external hard drive. Now I've realized and I've learned now that you have to do a lot on the cloud. So, so that you can access it anywhere and be sure that at least you have a backup of backups. So you back up on your hard drive and you do another backup on the cloud, right? So I had an incident with my my external drive backup, drive, and I couldn't access it anymore. So my husband and myself went to an office, a technical company that helps you to do recovery. And I saw something interesting on the wall. In fact, it was when I saw that I realized, interesting, we are actually making decisions along this line every time of our life. So I'm going to read that to you today. So on the wall, they had a poster and it was in their office. And the poster reads like this. It says, we offer 3 kinds of services: good, cheap, and fast. We offer 3 kinds of services: good, cheap, and fast. But then here's the caveat, but you can only pick 2. If you want good and cheap, you're not going to get it fast. If you want cheap and fast, it's not going to be good. But if you want it fast and good, then it's not going to be cheap. Let me go over that again for someone who may be saying, wait, FolaFayo, you just finished doing some raps right now, okay? So I'll read that again. We offer 3 kinds of services: good, cheap, and fast. But you can only pick 2. If you want good and cheap, we're not going to be fast. If you want cheap and fast, then it's not likely to be good. If you want it to be fast and you want it to be good, then you're going to be paying a premium. And the day I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what happens when we are going into some particular decision-making points in our life. We are going to have to decide between 3 options, 3 major options a lot: quality, speed, and price. Quality, speed, and price. And one of the things that I learned a while back, that was when I was working, in Lagos and working in the bank, is that many people, because most of the banks were on the island, and most people would live on the mainland, because the houses on the mainland then, I don't know about now, but then the houses on the mainland were cheaper. So you will find out that people would live on the mainland yet work on the island. Why? Because the idea was that we were saving costs living on the mainland. Now, for some other people, it was just this idea of, I already bought a house on the mainland, so that's why I'm living there. I want to live in my house and all of that. So many people were not thinking about the option of staying closer to work, because in their mind, they're thinking, I have to drop an extra $1 million or $500,000 on rent to be able to stay close to the office. But guess what? You're spending money on the wear and tear on your vehicle. And for those who may be saying, FolaFayo, I don't know, I don't drive. I have an option. I don't drive. I carpool. But then there's wear and tear on your body. So something has to give at the end of the day. Because you can imagine if you're living a little bit close to the office and you don't have to do a lot of transit time and all of that, you can sleep longer, you're fresher when you get to work. I mean, because I remember those times when I started working in the bank years back, we would get to the island like 6:30, 6:45, and work resumes at 8. So you see a lot of us sitting in the car, just dressing up fully in the car because you just got into the car not fully dressed. So if you check a regular lady's car, it usually has all the works, makeup bag, assorted shoes, some jackets, some blazers, and all of that, because you're practically like leaving from your car, right? Now, we also had a decision to make once when we were trying to get accommodation. And, my husband's office was in a particular location. But then we realized that for what we wanted, we were going to pay a premium if we wanted proximity in our favor and if we wanted ease. So the question that I'm asking you is this: do you realize that you are having to make a choice between quality, time, and price on anything you're going to do? So let me use something else that comes up a lot in my space, and that is the need for transformation. So you are saying that, I'm on this level in my life, I want to move to the next level. Or you're someone, and this next level thing could be in different areas. It could be with respect to your career. It could be with respect to finance. It could be with respect to relationships, right? And then you find out that you meet someone who says, I can support you on this journey. And then the person tells you, because I've had that decision to make in my life before, right? And then the person tells you, for me to be able to help you with this solution, you're going to have to pay $5,000. And then I'm like, $5,000, how? Now I know that there are times when your budget really can't take, an option. But sometimes we really can stretch on some things. We have learned that, right? Because if you do not commit the price that is requested on something you want to value, you're going to pay on time or you're going to pay on quality. But you need to ask yourself which one is the most important to you at that time. So if you're saying, you know what, I don't really have the budget for it, then you know that you're going to settle for on quality or you're going to take a longer time to do it. So let's look at DIY. So I just gave an example on transformation. You want a transformation in your life, you find a solution online course. And then an online course is telling you 10K. And in your mind, you're like, 10K, I can find something cheaper. Definitely, you can find something cheaper, but what does it entail from you? I had a conversation with someone recently, and the person was telling me about a service provider she wanted to work with. And she paid quite a lot, but she didn't get the quality she wanted. So I know that some people may be thinking, but FolaFayo, sometimes quality is not necessarily equal to price. I guess that's where we have to do our due diligence. Because remember I said something about, taking time to reflect and ask yourself, what do you want to filter from? And then, you need to also have that feeling of certainty when you go into a situation. So while I'm not saying you would always get quality with price, I'm just saying that you should not always look for the cheaper option, right? Because you will be paying on time, you'll be spending a longer time to get that result, or you'll be sacrificing on quality. I mean, it has happened. I know it has happened in fact, to me a lot of times. I know that I've bought a lot of kitchen gadgets. I bought one once. We just moved to Cairo then, and I saw a blender set, and I was like, this blender set is affordable. It's more affordable than this one that we've had in at home before, that is now old and we probably disposed. I'll go for it. Within a month, it started smoking of using it to blend. I now had to still go back and pay premium for the quality one that would have served me as an option, right? So the question I want to ask is, do you know what you feel when you make a decision? Do you know the values that are coming to the top of your mind when you're making a decision? Do you realize that for some decisions, you need to consider, what is priority for me now? Do I want it quick? Because sometimes if you want it quick, then you know that you might need to compromise on either quality or on price. And sometimes when you know that you want really good pricing, then you know that you may be getting some particular things, right? But let's not assume that because we have this myriad of things we need to think about, when we don't take that step, we're not making a decision. You are still making a decision if you don't move forward on that thing.
Second idea I want to share tonight is every season matters. And I can spend the rest of the time on this one. Not just is life, distributed into seasons, or in phases, every season has an impact. Every season has what it should do to you as an individual. And it is important for you to know how your season affects you, what to do when you are in season or out of season. Very important, because what happens is, depending on the season that you are in, you are cultivating something. You're cultivating something. A lot of us in our season will be cultivating a skill. Sometimes you are cultivating character. God brings you into that season, into that period, to develop character in you. There are times that in your season, you're developing relationships. You need to be aware that every season matters. There is no season that has no reason. The life is not just created like that. No, every season matters. And you need to be learning during your season. You need to cultivate, either you're cultivating a skill, you're cultivating resilience, you're cultivating character, or you're cultivating a relationship. Every season matters. Those of us who are parents, you realize that in the life of a growing child. I know how everyone can be excited holding a newborn, a baby. You're super full of joy, especially if that's your first. You're like, wow, I can't wait to be the mother of this lovely daughter or this lovely son, right? That's a season, and that season matters to you at that time. But what happens after some time, they start to do what babies do. They start to wee, they start to poo, you start to change a lot of diapers. And when you have lost sleep, or you've only slept 2 to 3 hours in the last 2 weeks, that's another season, right? That matters as well. It has a different meaning versus the first scenario I described, but then they start to grow, and then you get to the age where a lot of people call them terrific too. That's another season, and that season counts again, where you're wondering where they are in the house. You cannot let your eyes miss them, because before you know it, they are doing something strange, right? That's a season, and that season matters. And then they start to grow up, they start to do things on their own, and you feel a sense of relief. You're like, wow, now they are growing up, I can relax a bit. And then they become all of a sudden teenagers. And then you start to worry again, a different set of worry, right? That season matters as well. That season counts, but it's a different season altogether. Your worry at that season is different from when they were kids. And then they go into adulthood, you start to worry again. What courses are they going to do in college? Who are their closest friends? Did you do a good job in raising them up and all of that? So you would see that every season matters, and you cannot afford to lose sight of what God is trying to do, or what life is pushing your way in every season. The sad thing to note, and if you don't get anything from what I'm going to say, please get this one. Get this one. This is very important. The sad thing to note is a lot of people spend time in certain seasons of their life, but they do not get the requisite experience. What am I trying to say? I've spoken to people, and maybe you've spoken to such people as well, who may be 40-year-old, 50-year-old, but after speaking with them, you feel that you've spoken to a 15-year-old in terms of maturity. I hope you don't have a lot of such people around you, but there are people like that who, despite the fact that they should have 10 years of experience, they don't really have 10 years of experience. You know what they have? They have 1 year of experience repeated 10 times. That's a tragedy. Someone has spent 10 years on a job, and you are expecting that this guy will be showing you, will be revealing to you, will be dealing with you as someone who is 10 years experience. But this guy is dealing with you like someone who is 1 year experience, who has repeated this experience 10 times over. You know why? Because they stopped learning in their seasons. They are not allowing the season to count. So they are gathering experience, so to speak, repeatedly. It's the same experience that they have gone through this year that they repeat next year. Nothing is new. No character formation, no new skill, no new relationship, right? Oh, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I've seen people who are 20 years married,
who should have 20 years of experience, but they have only 1 year of experience repeated 20 times. That's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. You're not allowing the season to count. You need to make your season count. Every season matters. Every season counts.